Today's class is going to be all on our back today against a wall. So to prep for today, if you have anything low hanging on the wall that you're going to use, take it off. And you probably won't need any props today. You could grab a couple yoga blocks just in case. And if you happen to have a long strap, you can loop it together and we can use this in a wide leg straddle against the wall, but it's not necessary. So uh, if you have it, grab it. If you want to play around with it, I'll cue with this, but it's definitely not something that you need. So please meet me in a comfortable seat before we get started, whatever that is. Legs can be crossed, you can have butterfly legs, whatever's comfortable. Even lay flat on your back if you like. So today is a little bit different. I'm going to be talking virtually not at all. So the only talking that I'm going to be doing today is to cue you into position. Really, the only reason I even talk during yoga videos is to distract you. So that can be nice sometimes because it can help keep us centered and keep us present because we have something that we're focusing on, and it can be really helpful. But also we have to flex our other muscles and be present with ourselves, whether or not there are any outward distractions. And so I'm really not going to be talking at all today. So if you don't typically listen to music, uh, it might be a good idea to listen to music this time if you feel like straight up silence is going to drive you crazy. If not, I encourage you to try the straight up silence as well, because it's all good for us. And many of us, this is a huge challenge just to be quiet and with our thoughts and not have those distractions. So it's good to practice. It's really good to practice. So in your easy seat position, please close your eyes. Starting to breathe a little slower and deeper into your heart space. Finding an easy, comfortable rhythm. And today, for today's practice, during our breath work right now, and then onward as we're practicing, I'd like you to think of an attitude or thought that you would rather not have, or that you'd like to give up or replace with something else. So this could be feeling judgmental or impatient. Maybe it's just even feeling anxious or stressed. Maybe you'd like to give that up. Pick something. And this even could be just the word neutral. If you're in a pretty good place and nothing's standing out, maybe just focus on the word neutral right now, that you are neutral. So breathing into our heart space, thinking about the attitude or thought that we would like to replace. And then once we recognize that, breathing in a replacement attitude or thought. So that could be, I could think about ease or neutrality again, if there's nothing specific I'm focusing on. I could focus on patience, love, gratitude. Many options here. So really, we're replacing something that's not serving us with something that is. So finding that new replacement attitude, thought, behavior, breathing that feeling in to your heart space, to your chest area. and really trying to encompass that feeling. Just a couple more breaths. Slowly opening your eyes and then coming up to your wall. So let's head over to the wall. And the easiest way to do this is to pick one side of your body. I'm on the right side of my body. My hip is as close and as flush to the wall as possible. And then I'm just going to lay back and then swing my legs up. So the closer your butt is to the wall, the deeper it's going to be. So you will have to position yourself once your legs are up. You may need to scoot closer in. You may need to scoot further back. It'll just depending on what you're feeling. So you'll know. So find your position. Either scoot your bum closer to the wall or further away, depending on what feels comfortable for your legs. And then bring the soles of your feet together. We're going to start off in butterfly. Now, if this doesn't work for you at all, just do this laying down on the ground. You can also put blocks or pillows underneath the outer edge of your thigh if you can get it propped up comfortably. So you can do that also. You can experiment with how close your feet are to your groin. Maybe it'll feel a little more comfortable closer, or maybe you'll feel more comfortable with your feet further up the wall. So find your position. Arms can be down by your side, palms up. You can even grasp opposite elbow and opposite hand up above your head. We'll settle in here and begin. I did lie. Okay, so I want to mention one more thing I forgot to mention in the beginning. Uh, this is going to be a wonderful class for you to come back to if you're having trouble sleeping or if you are particularly stressed or anxious. It's going to be a very, very calming sequence. This is also perfect for the day that you don't want to do anything, but you know that you should. We all have those days too, where it's just pulling teeth to get us to move and get us to do our exercise. So you can always save this for a day and come back to it on days that you are not having as much motivation because this is still great to do and it's a little easier to talk yourself into doing it. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now. We're a little over halfway. So if you're feeling any discomfort, you need to come out of it, now is a good time. If not, you can hang out with me for about another minute. Possibly feeling some compression in the front of the legs and a stretch on the inner thigh. Slowly straightening your legs up against the wall, maybe shaking them out. And if you need to come out of this and completely release your legs flat to the ground, you can do that. Whatever movement you need. You may feel like you need to fully come out of this to get a good rebound, but if you feel like you're getting enough movement just by kind of shaking your legs up the wall, that's great. Okay, so when you're ready, we're going to come into a wall squat. So instead of the soles of our feet touching each other like we just did, we're just going to walk our feet down towards the hips and have the soles of our feet flat against the wall. You can put some bolsters or pillows underneath your legs and your hips if you're feeling any pinching there. You can also walk your legs a little further up the wall. So experiment with your foot placement. Now we have our feet about hip width apart, but you can also try widening them deeper if that feels better, or you can even have them more narrow. So find that position, and as we settle into, if you do notice pinching on the front of your hips, uh, just grab that pillow, shove it in there. Also, this is a good time to, if you do have a strap, anytime you get pinching in your hips, even just putting a little bit of fabric in between them, like a yoga strap, can take some of the pressure off. So you can also use the strap as a tiny little bolster, and that actually it does more than you think it does. So try that sometime if you ever do get the hip pinching. So finding the foot placement that works best for you and settling in. Here we go. Again, arms can be anywhere you like by your side, palms up. You can have them more towards a T. You can have them clasped up over your heads if you'd like to get your shoulders involved a little more. You also may notice that you need to scoot your hips closer to the wall if you came out of it, or you may need to scoot a little further back if it feels too deep. We are looking for sensation really anywhere through the hip area. I tend to feel it more in the front of my hips here, but really you can feel something on the side or even through the back hip, back of leg. We're about halfway through. So if you're feeling good, stay with me. If you feel like you need to come out of this now because you're getting any pain sensation, feel free to come out and do any type of movement you like, down dog, hip circles, butterfly, or you can just lay flat on your back until the next pose. Inhaling, slowly straightening the legs, doing any kind of movement. You can even flatten your feet against the wall and then push your hips up to try to open up your hip flexors here. So this is just about everything that we're doing today. It's very compressive on the hip flexors. So they may feel a little achy. They may feel like they're grandpa and grandma, stiff, a little fragile. So, be mindful of that area. And if you need to come out of a pose soon or stretch it out or come off the wall and do cat cow, anything like that, please do so. So if you have your strap and you want to use it with a wide-legged wall straddle, so this is essentially what we're coming into. So legs are going to be straight and they're just as wide as is comfortable resting on the wall. If that feels good for you, don't even worry about the strap. Really, the reason you would use this strap is if you're having discomfort or any kind of super leg fatigue trying to hold them up, or if they're opening too wide and you're feeling like you're getting too much sensation, you can use this strap looped around the edges of your feet to just suck you in a little bit. Now, depending on the length of your strap, sometimes people need to wind two straps together. The one that I have is pretty big, so I can get away with one strap. So just know that this is an option. And if you don't have a strap already, you may think about getting one. It could be really, really helpful. So find your position, legs as wide as is comfortable, settling in, arms by the side, palms can be resting on the tummy, arms can be up overhead. If you'd like to get a little shoulder work in there, you can do cactus arms. You will notice that the longer you're here, and as your legs release and open, gravity will try to pull them down. So if you can let your legs open more, go for it. What can happen is the legs in this position start to release and we are not quite aware of it. And so that we then begin to use a muscle to hold our legs in place where they were, not realizing we can relax them a little and have a better range of motion. So every so often check in just to make sure you're not tensing and holding your legs where they don't need to be held, because most likely by the end of this, unless you have the straps wrapped around your feet, your legs are going to want to widen as they release. Nice deep breath, very carefully, maybe bending the knees a little bit and using your hands to help push your legs back straight up the wall. Maybe doing a little shakies back and forth, a little wobbles. Flattening the feet against the wall, pushing your hips up if that feels okay. Stretching out the front of the hip flexors. Doing whatever movement feels good and comes naturally. The more you do this, you'll realize that your body will tell you the type of movements you need to do when you come out of it. But it takes a little practice to be able to pick up on those cues. So push off against the wall briefly for me so you can do a little windshield wiping. Laying flat on your back. Maybe coming to your knees and doing cat-cow. Can push up into a bridge, again, to try to open up the front of the leg since we're compressing so much through there. Also, this type of work that we're doing today is really good for the lymphatic system. So we're using gravity not only to help with circulation and getting fresh blood flow into our legs, but that gravity really helps your lymphatic fluid move through. And with the front of the leg hip compression, you are stimulating the lymph nodes to process and filter that lymph fluid as it comes down. So when you get all your movement done, feeling pretty good, we're going to come back to the wall again. Bring one hip close to the wall and then lean back, swinging your legs up. So we're going to do a reclined figure four. So we're going to do a figure four against the wall. And this can be really intense depending on how close or far away from the wall you are. So the closer you are to the wall, the deeper this is going to be. So this is what this looks like. This is the figure four. So you have your ankle crossed over your knee. So if you haven't done this before, you probably don't know how close or far away from the wall you should go, but I wanted to give you a sneak peek that this is what we're doing. So if you can make your best judgment and guess. I'm just going to be probably 6 inches away from the wall. Put your feet flat, lift your hips up, cross your left ankle over your right knee, and then sit your hips back down. So you will most likely feel a deep stretch on the outer edge area of that left hip. You can flex the left foot to protect the knee. If your hip is lifted way off the ground, you can scoot further away from the wall, or you can put a block or pillow underneath your tailbone. Now, this can be quite intense for some people, so don't feel bad if you need to push yourself further away from the wall. And if it's still not working, just completely come off the wall and lower your right foot to the mat. This should be accessible to just about everybody. So this is your option if, as we settle in against the wall, you're realizing that it's not going to work for you today. Arms can be resting on your belly, on your chest. Arms can be straight by your side, palms up, or you can reach your arms up overhead to get a little shoulder opener in. We're about halfway through, so you can stay where you're at if you're feeling good, if you're feeling that sensation anywhere on that left hip area. You can scoot closer to the wall if you're feeling like you're not getting a deep enough feeling. And you can remember to just completely push off the wall and rest your right sole of your foot on the ground if this is starting to feel like it's too much. Inhaling, gently releasing that left leg, straightening both legs against the wall, shaking your legs out, any little motion and movement. Now you can stay there and keep shaking your legs out, or come to all fours and circle that left hip out. That might feel really nice. You can also push back into down dog here and straighten that back leg out. And when you're ready, make your way back to the wall and we'll do the other side. So legs up the wall, bending both knees, soles of the feet flat against the wall, pushing your hips up and then crossing your right ankle over your left knee and then sitting the bum back down. Scoot a little further out if this is feeling too deep or if your hips are floating off the ground and that feels uncomfortable. You could also stay where you're at and put a block underneath your hips if your hips are raised. If you're not feeling a deep enough stretch, scooch your bum closer to the wall. And it is awkward to scoot back and forth around the wall, so just get creative and do it however you can. There's no real easy, graceful way to do it. You kind of just have to shimmy around. Find your spot, and we'll hold for time. If at any point you start to get too much sensation, back off. We're about halfway done. If you're feeling good, continue to hang out with me. Make any adjustments that you need to. I'm actually going to grab a yoga block and sit my low back on it because that was just starting to feel a little too much for this right hip. So even though we really are looking for stillness once we find our edge, please, please, please always adjust yourself if you need to. Inhaling, bringing both your feet to the wall. Shake them out. You do you, taking those movements that you feel like you need. Coming off the wall if necessary, circling the hip out. Maybe pushing back to down dog, straightening that back leg towards the back of the wall. When you're ready, we are going to come off the wall and do a spinal twist. And there's ways to do a spinal twist against the wall, but I don't really care for it. I don't know, it's just kind of uncomfortable. So I think we can get a better spinal twist if we come to our mat. So lying on your back, bringing your right knee to your chest, draping it over the left side of your body, reaching out with your right arm, looking over your right shoulder if your neck will allow you. Look straight up if this pinches your neck in any way, or if you get any dizziness, if you find that you get any numbness in your right arm, go ahead and lower it towards your side or rest it on your belly. If this starts to feel like it's too much, bend both of your knees. You can also put a pillow or a block underneath both of them, or put a pillow or block in between them. If this doesn't feel like it's enough, you can always do the twisted roots version where you wrap your right leg over and around your left. We're a little over halfway here. On the inhale, unwinding your spine, coming back flat on your back, dropping the knees from side to side. Maybe pulling your knees to your chest and giving a little squeeze, rocking back and forth. You can shake your legs out. Anything that sounds great. When you're ready, bend your left knee to your chest. Drape it over to the right side of your body. Left arm straight to the side if your shoulder allows it. Looking over your left shoulder. If you get any neck issues, look straight up. If your shoulder starts to bug you, move your arm closer to your body, maybe even resting your palm on the side of your rib cage. If this ever starts to feel like too much, go ahead and just bend both of your knees and use a bolster either underneath both of your knees or in between them. If it doesn't feel like much, do the twisted roots and wrap your left leg around your right. And there's really a lot of different places you can feel this. A lot of times people will feel it in their hip, low back area. You can feel, sometimes people will feel it up along their spine. Sometimes people will get actually the most sensation in their outstretched arm. We're really going after the spine here more than anything, but our hip and shoulder is involved. So don't be surprised if you get sensations in a lot of different places. We're a little over halfway done. Inhaling, returning to lying on your back, rocking your knees side to side, squeezing knees into chest, doing some low back circles, clockwise and counterclockwise. And when you're ready, push to a seated position. We're going to come into wall sphinx. So, again, this is just a little awkward. You kind of have to shimmy yourself best you can. And I'll do it at this angle so you can see better. So coming down onto your hands and knees and then resting on your forearms, dropping your hips down and then scooching your knees and shins and top of feet as close to the wall as you can. So you just can kind of shimmy your hips back one side at a time until your shins and the top of your feet can rest flush on the wall. Grab opposite elbows. The further you walk them out, the less of a back bend this is going to be. The further you walk them in, the more of a back bend this is going to be. And for those of you that struggle holding this position, grab a couple pillows or a pillow and put it underneath your chest so you can rest some of your body weight there. So we're going after compression in the low back here. And because our knees are bent right off the bat, this is a little bit deeper in the beginning than we typically go. Normally, we would start off with our legs straight out behind us. So if this feels like it's too much and your arms have been walked out and that's still not working, just come flat onto your tummy and turn your head to one side and rest your cheek on your palm on the back of your hand. Head and neck need to do whatever feels comfortable. If you just want to let it hang, go for it. You can also just look a few inches out in front of you. We're about halfway through. So it's a good time to make this pose a little easier if you're starting to feel like you're getting too much sensation, and walk those elbows out. If you are feeling pretty good and that you'd like more sensation, walk the elbows in a little bit. If you're feeling really feisty, you can push up onto your palms. That's going to be incredibly deep though, so only do that if you're very bendy. Breathing. Slowly coming out of this. Now, there's many different ways you can do that. I'm just gonna kind of shimmy forward, alternating my legs, kind of almost doing like a reverse windshield wiper here onto our tummy, pushing away. You can also try to roll on your side and come out of it that way. Come down when you're off the wall. Rest your forehead on the back of your hand. Bend your knees. Drop your feet from side to side. Maybe straighten both legs out. Bend one knee. Straighten the legs out again. Bend the other knee. Pushing up slowly and doing cat-cow. Rounding the back. Inhaling, dropping tummy to floor. Exhale, push the ground away. Getting as much curve, not only through your upper back, but really trying to open up and curve the low back too. Trying to do a bit of the opposite motion that we just did. You can even kind of snake your hips from side to side. Or pretend that you're a shark prowling through the water. And when you're ready, gently roll down to your back for Shavasana, your final resting pose. Legs straight, letting your toes point wherever they want to point, whether that's out or in. Hands by your side, palms up. Thinking back to the beginning of practice, when we worked on a breathing technique where essentially we're trying to shift one thought for another, shift our attitude about something from one thing to another. Replacement attitude breathing. So thinking back to the beginning of the practice, there was something, some thought that you wanted to replace. Maybe it was judgment, fear, anger, stress. You found something and we replaced it with something else. Maybe ease, forgiveness, love, generosity, tolerance. Also, we could have just been focusing on the word neutral the whole time. Sometimes there's not anything specific that rings particularly true for us. So even just focusing on the word neutral or neutrality is great. So coming back to your replacement thought or feeling or attitude, love, forgiveness, generosity, tolerance, acceptance, peace, neutrality, and breathing that into your heart space again. If you find yourself being triggered during the day over something, remember back to this moment when you found a replacement thought or attitude. And as hard as it is in the moment, see if you can shift that. Focus on something that's going to serve you and help you and encourage you and lift you up, not make you feel worse. Even if you just focus on the word neutral. It's hard to be neutral, but usually it feels a lot better to be neutral. And we can think a lot clearer when we're coming from a neutral place. Please hit pause if you can hang out for longer. If not, reach the arms up over the head, circling the wrists and elbows, clockwise, counterclockwise. Any feel good, juicy movement. Get those creaks, snaps, and crackles. Work those out. Rolling onto one side of your body. You can roll onto your right side if it's the morning, or your left side if it's the evening. Gently pushing up, meeting me in a seated position. Inhaling, arms up overhead. Exhaling, palms to chest. Namaste. Thank you.